Shabbat Shalom, Daddy's home. Let's get into this. Some good news.
All right. Now we're live. Now I can tell you the news. I know you're gonna break some big news for us as well. But you ready to enjoy this?
I am.
I love when I tell you something live on air. So just for the audience, Larry has not seen the Axios piece, thankfully, so he can see it live with us, so we can see his reaction. So Axios reported today, literally about 30 minutes ago, if that, just under 30 minutes ago, they said Trump called Netanyahu, said the following, quote, "You're fucking crazy. You'd be in prison if it weren't for me. I'm saving your ass. Everybody hates you now. Everybody hates Israel because of this. What the fuck are you doing?" That was today, allegedly by Axios, after the threats by Netanyahu to strike Beirut. So either, first, I'd love to get your reaction. Either it's true, and that's incredible news, or it's not true, but then the question, who leaked it and why? So either way, it's pretty significant. What do you think?
No, I think it's very significant. So Trump's telling one story, Bibi's telling another story, but in this case, I'd say I believe Trump. So let me tell you why I think this is true, and this is where I'll break the news. Pepe Escobar and I were approached by a person with access to an intelligence, not somebody who's smart, but an actual source, intelligence source, and I'll call it West Asia. And we were given this information last Friday. The first point of the information was Iran is going to withdraw from the negotiations.
And they have?
You hinted about this yesterday. You told me there's something you're going to tell me. I remember now. So this is it.
So number two, Iran is going to withdraw from the Non-Proliferation Treaty, the NPT. Number three, and we have confirmed that this is from this intelligence source, and he's not giving opinion, that Iran will then be prepared to do a demonstration of a nuclear weapon that they have acquired with the assistance of a third country. And I will not mention the country, but it will be not for use. It will be to demonstrate that leave us alone, like North Korea, we got a weapon now. So, again, we got this information on Friday, but the first point that they were going to withdraw from the negotiations. And what did we get this morning at 10 a.m.? Well, 10 a.m. Eastern time, my time, probably 5:30 your time, p.m. They're withdrawing from the negotiations, and they come back to, the blockade. It's got to be lifted. No more attacks in Lebanon, no more attacks in Gaza. Hence, now what we were told is that this information was given last Friday to Marco Rubio, not to Mario.
I got worried. Yes. Don't drag me into this.
It was given from Mario.
I'm not the source. I'm not the source of West Asia.
I got it from Mario in the fall. No.
Give me a heart attack. I remember sharing it.
Marco Rubio, and it was the Pakistani foreign minister told him this. So that's why I say that I think Marco, after getting that information, may have needed to have had a change of underwear. But I believe that this is why I think that this is true, because it's within an hour of that announcement that Trump's on the phone immediately with Bibi Netanyahu saying what Axios has reported, which I think is an accurate rendition. So this helps paint a broader picture of what's going on behind the scenes.
All right, there's a lot to digest. So let's begin with the Axios piece and the Netanyahu-Trump dynamic here. There were reports yesterday, we actually talked about it briefly yesterday, where Israel requested permission to strike Beirut, and according to Channel 12, they had a positive response from the US. Do you think that was true or not?
Yeah, I think that may have been true yesterday, and then when, because I could see when Marco comes back and says, "Hey, this is what the Pakistanis are telling me," that they might have said, "That's just talk," and then today, boom, the Iran, we're out, we're done, and unless these things have to be done. And then remember, they doubled down on it because it was within then another hour or two after they announced they're withdrawing that a senior IRGC officer announced that he said people that live people that live in the occupied territories, northern territories, meaning northern Israel, if you're get out. If you're civilians, get out. Because they're going to hit it. Iran, I think within the next 24 hours, Iran is going to, unless, let's put a caveat, unless Israel stops bombing Lebanon, including southern Lebanon, and stops its ground attack against Hezbollah and pulls back across the border, unless they're seeing signs that Israel's doing that, I think Iran is going to hit northern Israel and target it at military installations, military personnel. And so this war will be heated back up.
Surprise, surprise. Finally.
So that's more than what they threatened, because they threatened if Beirut gets struck, they'll retaliate militarily, close the Bab and Mendeb Strait. You're saying that threat could now expand to beyond Beirut.
Yes.
So
yes.
The red line they've drawn, because there was a similar statement made, not similar, but there was a statement made by, I think, the advisor to the Supreme Leader or something along those lines, someone high up, where he said that we've kind of reaching our patience when it comes to Lebanon.
Yeah. Yes.
So
yes.
The red line they've drawn, because there was a similar statement made, not similar, but there was a statement made by, I think, the advisor to the Supreme Leader or something along those lines, someone high up, where he said that we've kind of reaching our patience when it comes to Lebanon.
Yeah. Remember, this entire ceasefire process, one of the upfront key demands from Iran was a ceasefire in Lebanon and a ceasefire in Palestine or with Gaza. Yeah. And now Israel has just basically been throwing that away. And I think Axios' account sounds accurate to me.
I think so as well. And even if it's not accurate, let's say it wasn't accurate, just the fact that Trump or someone from the administration leaked it is already damaging to Netanyahu. That will be used domestically, politically against Netanyahu. Yeah. And it's a warning to Netanyahu. And it reminds me of one of my guests told me once, not long ago. They said to me, I can't remember the guest, but they said to me, Mario, do you remember when Trump said he has 99% approval rating in Israel and he should run as prime minister of Israel? We all saw it as a troll. But what the guest told me is like, Mario, this is Trump sending a warning to Netanyahu saying, hey, you got to be careful because I can bury you with Israel. So they said that as a veiled warning to Netanyahu that Trump politically has the power to, Netanyahu needs him politically. But this goes a whole other level now, saying in the quote, you're fucking crazy. You'd be in jail if it wasn't for me. That is wild. You'd be in jail if it wasn't for me.
Yeah, but that's true because, he would be facing prosecution. He still faces prosecution. But, Trump was lobbying for them to, hey, give the guy a pardon, let him off. Don't put, So Trump had been lobbying for him. Now, a whole different ball game because Iran, Iran's now playing hardball.
Yeah.
And go ahead. Sorry.
No, don't, please. You go ahead. I was going to add a question. Would they appreciate Trump's move here? But go ahead, finish your first point before I ask that.
So one of the other revelations from this source. So again, I think if somebody tells you something's going to happen and it happens, that makes, the release on that, the first issue that was on his list, he told us on Friday, it happened on Monday. So the other thing in there is that Qatar and Saudi Arabia have made the decision to distance themselves from the United States. Qatar is going to notify the U.S. they want Al Udeid Air Force Base closed in 9 months.
Far out.
So
they're going to join with China. They're going to join with China. Who wouldn't? China are showing themselves as the most stable, non-confrontational superpower in the world. And if Iran, Russia, China, Pakistan join forces, I think the monopoly on the global energy market by the Epstein class is coming to an end. But sorry.
Qatar and Saudi criticized Israel and Lebanon just in the last couple of days.
Yeah, and this is part of the Saudis have been provided a security umbrella by Pakistan. But let's recall, everything that Pakistan is doing is being done really under sort of the direction, supervision of China. So the Saudis know that they're not just dealing with Pakistan. They're dealing with China. They're dealing with Russia. So this is being packaged as part of a much broader, if you will, integration into a new global economic system, global economic, political, military, security system.
Well, in Trump's post, he said, I had a conversation with Netanyahu today asking him not to go into major raid of Beirut, Lebanon. He turned his troops around. Thank you, Bibi. But I also had a conversation with representatives of the leaders of Hezbollah, and they agreed to stop shooting at Israel and its soldiers. And likewise, Israel has agreed to stop shooting at them, at Hezbollah. Let's see how long this lasts. Hopefully, it'll be for eternity. But
I don't believe that for one. I don't believe that for 1 minute.
Exactly. Me neither. But why would he say that? It's him, Trump being Trump, trying to paint his own reality, I guess. Control the narrative.
Yeah.
Get some political wins. Because there's right now, they're striking each other. Hezbollah striking northern Israel, and Israel striking southern Lebanon. So nothing has changed on the battlefront there.
That's right.
All right. So the question I was asking earlier is, do you think Iran would appreciate the developments today? Because they made a threat, and Trump acted on it. That must be seen as a goodwill move by Trump. He did rein in Israel, not completely. They're still striking. They're still war in Lebanon.
They're going to be black. Iran's going to be black and white on this. In fact, again, one of the other revelations from the source is that Muqtada Khamenei had basically communicated to the IRGC and to the appropriate scientists that that basicly in the event of a life, an extinction, risk of extinction for Iran, that they should use the nuke. Let's
dig into this. So on that nuke part, can you just give me more context, if there is any? So will Iran? Is there conditions where Iran would use it? Because I worry, I use it in as a demonstration, but I worry it could lead to escalation where Trump.
Bro, you killed the Ayatollah who had the fatwa against nuclear weapons. The Supreme Leader now, his son, was there. His wife died. His daughter died. His father died. What do you think he's going to do?
Well, has no way of walking away.
Yeah, but actually, it now puts once Iran demonstrates it has a nuke, it's in North Korean territory. Because just the same way that once North Korea did that, the rest of the world stayed away. We're not going to touch them.
But the alternative, what if, because you're asking Trump to accept a massive loss. You're accepting Iran with a nuke when he said they should never have a nuclear weapon. And you're asking Israel to accept Iran that talks about wiping out Israel to have a nuke. if Iran does demonstrate it, especially in a public way, doesn't that force Trump to have to retaliate and maybe even force Israel to do what we consider unthinkable and nuke Iran?
And how they, so if they nuke Iran, then they get nuked. That's the message Iran's sending.
Unless they manage to get the first, maybe because it's a risk they're worth taking, but maybe they.
So let's say that they're going to launch. If I'm Iran, what do? I put 2 nuclear missiles in 2 separate areas of the country that are in isolated areas. So what is the strategy? You're going to launch and take out Tehran? Okay, then those 2 missiles get launched, and boom, Israel's done. Or if Israel tries to take out those launchers, it's in a remote area, but they're never going to be sure if they get them all. So I mean, there's too many unknowns here all of a sudden, and it now it forces it back into where Iran's always been. Let's talk. Let's negotiate. And they're going to tell Israel, you got to stop killing Palestinians. You got to stop. You stop that, there can be recognition, but there's not going to be any recognition of Israel until they stop killing Palestinians.
You think they're going to add the Palestinian cause into the current negotiations, or maybe
they already had. They just did that. That's what happened today.
You're talking, yeah. So the statement, one of the statements came out today. I think that's one you're referring to, where there's 2 statements on the Iranian side. So now one of them is a senior Iranian official spoke to Fars News and said, that's before Trump's call, etc. He said, the blood of a Palestinian equals the blood of an Iranian. The blood of a Lebanese equals the blood of an Iranian. The Muslim community is one joint column, side by side. And then we had Iran's IRGC-affiliated Tasnim news agency said the following. Iran emphasizes the need for the following: the necessity of the immediate cessation of attacks by the Zionist regime in Gaza and Lebanon. So they added Gaza and Lebanon. The necessity of a complete Israeli withdrawal from the areas it occupies in Lebanon. And the resistance axis and Iran together have determined to completely block Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, activate the front in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. So that was before the Trump call. And that's not an official position. That was a report by Tasnim. On this report. So it's kind of like Axios reporting something. But like to add, because that would be, like they're struggling to get Lebanon. Isn't it too early to add Gaza to the mix and risk the entire negotiations?
No, but I said they added it. That statement, the blood of the Palestinians is the same as the blood of Iranians. They're in. That's part of this. That's part of the deal.
So what happens now?
Well, we'll see in 24 hours if Iran meant what it said today, that it was to warning the folks in northern Israel, get the hell out.
But that warning, Larry, that warning was for Beirut. They linked the warning to Beirut.
No, incorrect. Let me read it to you. If I'm an Israeli settler, I ain't taking my chances. I'm getting out.
But now, so just now that you read it, do you think they do link it to Beirut or no? They weren't very explicit about it, but it seemed it was a response to Beirut.
Yeah, so if Israel continues the bombing, now let's say if they don't bomb Beirut, but they just do southern Lebanon, then I don't know. Well, we'll leave. But in light of that other statement that you read, with the blood of Lebanese, the blood of Iran, and the blood, so they're treating the Lebanese and the Palestinians as one.
One ummah.
So, but the key here is that.
Well, there's another one. This one, sorry, I'll give you this one as well. So this is Galibaf said this in my conversation with my brother, Mr. Nabih Berri. So for the audience, Nabih Berri is the head of Amal in Lebanon, which is allied with Hezbollah. And he's been the de facto spokesperson of Hezbollah because he's not sanctioned. That might change, but he's not sanctioned. So, diplomats can speak to him without saying they spoke to Hezbollah. I emphasized, that's Galibaf, after the call with Berri, that if the crimes of the Zionist regime in Lebanon continue, we will not only halt the dialogue process, but also stand firmly against them. So that kind of hints to what you were saying earlier, that maybe this time there is potentially there are going to be new threats if Israel does not stop in Lebanon, because he's saying not only will they stop dialogue if the attacks continue, doesn't mention Beirut, we will not only halt dialogue process, but we'll also stand firmly against them. Long live the resistance, as in Hezbollah. Long live the defense of the motherland. I think he talks about Lebanon. Long live the brotherhood of the Iranian and Lebanese people. So Ghalibaf, after that statement you read, did make a statement saying if the crimes of the Zionist regime in Lebanon continue, so it's more broad. So that one could be interpreted as maybe Iran does escalate if things don't stop in Lebanon.
Now, did you see the statement from the Lebanese member of parliament, Hassan Fadlallah?
I might have, yeah.
Where he said, Hezbollah rejected a U.S. proposal that would have halted Israeli attacks on Beirut in exchange for ending strikes on northern Israeli settlements, stressing that the resistance is seeking a ceasefire covering all of Lebanon rather than a limited arrangement.
Yeah. So what happened there, this is true. So we got multiple reports, going to give you the context for the audience. Throughout the day, we got multiple reports that obviously initially the Israel was about to strike Beirut, and then Trump scrambles, talks to NBC, acts surprised about it, says, oh, it's nothing, and then calls Netanyahu, and now we know what happened on Axios allegedly. And then Netanyahu announces no more strikes on Beirut. Now, there were reports there that there was an American offer to Hezbollah saying, hey, Israel won't attack Beirut if Hezbollah promised not to attack northern Israel, because what Hezbollah has been doing recently is striking northern Israel and Israeli troops in Lebanon, and Israel has been striking southern Lebanon without striking Beirut. So how that was seen is that Israel threatened to strike Beirut in return for concessions from Hezbollah not to strike northern Israel. So that was the offer from the Americans. Then we got reports that Hezbollah did accept that offer, unconfirmed reports. So then I did a post saying, okay, either Trump called Netanyahu, told him to stop, and Netanyahu just walked back his threats and everything stays the same, or the reports are true that Hezbollah actually conceded and Israel's threats against Beirut worked and led to Hezbollah conceding against striking Israel. And then the comment you mentioned by Hassan Fadlallah from Hezbollah, the MP, I'm actually going to want to interview him. I'll message my team. So based on his statement and based on the situation on the ground, what you're saying and what he's saying is true. Nothing's changed on the ground because literally, as Trump's talking about a fake ceasefire, Hezbollah still striking northern Israel and Israel still striking southern Lebanon, as not striking Beirut. Right. So it seems the report that the halt of a strike on Beirut was conditional on Hezbollah not striking northern Israel is the unconfirmed report is not true. And Hezbollah is saying, no, we don't want a conditional ceasefire where you keep striking us in southern Lebanon. We will stop striking you completely if you stop striking us, and we can discuss the withdrawal later. And that's a condition that eventually Israel would withdraw, but that could be discussed later. But that hasn't progressed. But just right. I'd give the audience some context there.
Yeah. So we're in new territory today.
Yeah, we are.
Iran has made it clear they're not going to follow with the ceasefire. In fact, I heard earlier today, I didn't see confirmation of it, that one of the Iranian gunboats fired an anti-ship missile at a U.S. ship.
Didn't hear about that.
We're just going to skip ahead to the part where he's talking about Lebanon.
Time for its proxies. Hezbollah is doing on the ground what Iran wants it to do. It is keeping the fire alive. It is keeping Lebanon hostage. Just to be clear, Hezbollah has already offered to stop attacks if Israel stops attacks. Just to be clear. But I'll read out what he's saying. It is keeping northern Israel under attack. That is why Israel had to act. Over the past weekend, Hezbollah's attacks on our northern communities have intensified. We have seen the heaviest level of fire since the April ceasefire. That says a lot, that despite everything Iran's been through and the fact that the Assad regime has fallen, that the attacks by Hezbollah has intensified, even though Hezbollah has been getting pummeled for years now.
So let's ask one question. How many Israelis have been killed by Hezbollah's terrorist attacks in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then ask the question, how many Lebanese civilians have been killed by Israel's terrorist attacks in the last 2 weeks? And you know what? I'm not really aware of any Israeli civilian that's been killed. There have been Israeli military personnel killed.
Yeah.
But Hezbollah is not targeting civilians. Israel's targeting civilians. I mean, that's the fact. And they want to say, well, it's being anti-Semitic. No, it's just called having two wide open eyes and I can read.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be, Dannon's arguments would have credibility if you were seeing apartment buildings leveled like they have done in Beirut and Tyre and Sidon. You know, if you had families dead, 6, mother, father, 4 children dead. If you were seeing that in Israel, then Dannon would have he'd have a slam dunk case, but you don't. That's the thing. It's Israel that's murdering civilians, not Hezbollah. No, Hezbollah is a terrorist organization. No, they are basically a paramilitary organization, and they focus on trying to kill Israeli soldiers and destroy Israeli military infrastructure. Fair game. You may not like it, but that is an appropriate target. Not killing civilians is what they've engaged in.
What do you make of the argument on the Israeli side? Is that Hezbollah is a threat and they need to get rid of it? Because right now we are not seeing buildings leveled as we did before. Now, obviously, civilians are getting killed and it's hard to know who's Hezbollah, who's not. But we're seeing back the same warfare we saw in the last couple of years, different to Gaza and different to a few months ago when they were leveling villages. It seems that has stopped. And now we're seeing less casualties and more targeted strikes. When the strike on Beirut happened a few days ago, it was literally one apartment.
No, that's just not true. Look at the attacks that have taken place in the last 2 weeks in southern Lebanon. They flattened that one city, that one building, they flattened it.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, Hezbollah, if Hezbollah, as Dannon is claiming, is killing all these Israelis, what are their names? Give us their names. Very simple. It's just like that bogus claim that Hamas had killed 40 babies and beheaded them. And I said, I was the first one out, I think, when that happened. Said, oh, really? What are the names? Now, you're too young you don't have children, you don't have grandchildren. But I guarantee you, every grandparent in the world knows the name of their grandson or granddaughter, especially if they're a newborn baby. And I bet you would not keep those grandparents silent if they were grieving. They'd be out holding the pictures of the kid. You didn't see a single one of those from Israel because it didn't happen. It was a lie. And so, but we come back to this. They got to portray Hezbollah, like Hamas, as this terrorist organization that's killing civilians. Yet the one that's actually killing civilians is Israel, not Hezbollah.
Especially when you add Gaza to the mix.
Yes.
And you can't say that in this country, unfortunately. But they're just the facts. I know people don't like to hear it, but they are the facts. And this could be one of the most important updates so far. I said 2 weeks ago on my TikTok account, I'd heard of sources, I haven't got any inside sources, just what I see online, that Iran had nuclear capability. It had been brought in on the railway lines. And look at North Korea, it's the deterrent you need, unfortunately. That's the only thing the Epstein class will listen to. But let's hope this comes to an end soon anyway. There you go.